Guys, in today's video, we are going to be refreshing the AC in Dale Jr. here and possibly sealing up some leaks that might exist on this 30-plus-year-old truck. Stay tuned. So I do realize that not everybody is going to have one of these air conditioning machines, but you can get gauges and you can do this conversion kit all on your own. The conversion kit has already been done, which in most cases is simply adding the R134 adapters to your evaporator dryer, as well as to the high side down here. Those kits, I'm going to leave a link in the description box down below if you guys are looking for those adapters. That's not all you should be doing. A lot of guys will tell you you should be replacing your evaporator dryer, as well as your condenser, any orifice tubes that may exist before doing this conversion. I don't think the previous person did this, and we're not going any further with it. Other than we know this has a slow leak in the AC unit somewhere, whereas according to the previous owner, from season to season it would lose its charge. So therefore, you'd have to be doing two things. One is all of your AC stuff is going up into the atmosphere, which is not good. It's dangerous, not good for the environment, but also it's costly to have this done every year. If you guys remember, when we bought Dale the truck down in Wichita, Kansas, we had to top off the AC so that we'd have something on that drive home. I'm going to leave a link, I think it's over here, on that trip to AutoZone to get the refrigerant, pump it in, make sure everything was working, and then the AC was blowing ice cold. The problem is, it isn't blowing ice cold anymore. It is cool. It's not blowing hot air, it's just cool. So it is getting low. And one of the fixes that we're gonna have for that today is we are going to be pumping in some of this Worth sealer, as well as it's got dye in it, so that if there is a leak, we should be able to find that in the future. And I will leave a link in the description box if you guys are looking for some of this stuff. It's expensive. This is what we retail it for here. This stuff is expensive stuff. There are cheaper ones out there, but this is the good stuff. And what we're doing here right now is we are evacuating out what was in there into the machine to see how much is there. We know how much this has to have. If you look back on all the old lookups for a 1990 R1500, which is what this is classified as, our CarQuest Advanced Auto Parts lookup tells us the fluid specs. For R12 with just front AC, it takes 3.25 pounds. With front and rear, it's 5.25 pounds. And according to a Google search, as well as some informative people that I've spoken to, R134a operates at about 75% the capacity of the R12. So if you take 5.25 pounds and you multiply that by 0.75, which is 75%, it's going to give you 3.8 pounds. And when this thing is done evacuating the system here, it's not likely going to be 3.8 pounds. I'm guessing it's probably going to be somewhere around 2.5, which isn't enough to make this thing run ice cold. So when we go to put in our 134 to fill it back up, we're going to subtract from that 3.8 pounds 2.3 ounces, because that's what this is. And according to the instructions on that, it says fill your system up to the maximum capacity less the 2.3 ounces, and then install the dye and the sealer. So just as soon as this is done evacuating the system of what's currently in it, we're going to turn right around and we're going to charge it with the 3.8 less the 2.3 ounces here. I've got that figured out in my brain, and I'll let you know what it is as soon as we get there. And in hopes that as soon as we get that sealer in there, it says to run it for 10 to 15 minutes, and that is sufficient to have that sealer in there. And you can leave it in there. And once it's in there, we will be able just to continue to run the system and in hopes that it blows as ice cold as it did on the day we charged it when we were down in Indiana, I guess is where we stayed that night. The next morning we charged this up. So as soon as this is done, we'll jump right back on here with you. So as suspected, it only recovered about 2.15 pounds. It needs 3.8 pounds. So let's get to charging this thing up and get the dye into it. Hopefully seal this thing up for good. All right, so if my math is correct, we are going to go to 3 pounds, 11 ounces. And that will leave us enough room for the extra 2.3 ounces here and bring it up to whatever the math is on that 3.8 pounds. So let's let her eat. Okay, so this is charged to 3 pounds, 11 ounces. Press start to equalize hoses. And disconnect the high side hose. Open the panel valves, which they're already open. Start the AC on max, and then hit start to continue. So we are going to disconnect the high side, which is the red one down here underneath the breather tube. Let that hang. I start this thing up and AC on high. And now in order to purge the air out of this line, it says that we've got to pull that trigger ever so slightly until it starts filling up. Just like that, and now we can hook it on to the high side and fill it up. So our lines are already starting to condensate. The AC is clicking back and forth like it should. Oh yeah, and this sucker is blowing nice and cold. Let's turn on the rear. The rear is blowing nice and cool back there. I can feel it as well. And we've got to replace that blower motor in that because it's doing a little bit of squeaking. I'm not sure if you can hear it. So in order to let this thing do its thing, we're going to go for a quick little cruise, test out that new cruise control because we got that fixed so far, I think, fingers crossed, and let this AC do its thing. So let's get this mess cleaned up and we'll take it for a quick rip. So I hope that's not blowing on you guys and freezing you out because it is fairly chilly. I think we've fixed the problem by A, putting that sealer in, but also B, having the right amount of AC refrigerant in there so that it can actually do its job properly. I don't think we're going to have any troubles with this from here on out. If there is, I'll certainly keep you updated. That rear blower is going to drive me crazy. I should shut that off. But anyways, that's how you put that sealer in. It's pretty basic. You got to do a little bit of math to figure out the proper conversion rate between R134 and R12. But as you saw, a quick Google search can get you all the answers that you need. I hope this video was informative to you. If it was, please hit that like button. If you're not yet subscribed to Olde Carr Guy, please hit that subscribe button. It lets YouTube know that I'm doing something right because you guys are watching my content. Guys, stay focused on the windshield, not the rearview mirror. I love you, God bless. Let's do it again in the next episode.